This first item opens up civil disobedience, which you all may know is one of his writings that appeal to a lot of people. One paragraph. I heartily accept the motto that government is best which governs least, and I should like to see it acted up to more rapidly and systematically. Carried out, it finally amounts to this, which I also believe, that government is best which governs not at all. And when men are prepared for it, that will be the kind of government which they will have. Government is at its best an expedient, but most governments are usually, and all governments are sometimes, inexpedient. The objections which have been brought against a standing army, and there are many and weighty, and deserve to prevail, may also at last be brought against standing government. The standing army is only an arm of the standing government. The government itself, which is only the mode with which people have chosen to execute their will, is equally liable to be abused and perverted before the people can act through it. Witness the present Mexican War, the work of comparatively few individuals using the standing government as their tool, and for the outlet the people would not have, but for this outlet the people would not have consented to this measure. One of his things that appealed to me is his treatise on life without principle. I'll read a couple passages from that segment. There is a coarse and boisterous money-making fellow in the outskirts of our town. He was going to build a bank wall under the hill along the edge of his meadow. The powers have put into his head to out of mischief, and he wishes me to spend 3 weeks digging there with him. The result would be that he will perhaps get some money to hoard and leave to his heirs to spend foolishly. If I do this, most will commend me as industrious and hard-working man. But if I choose to devote myself to certain labors which yield more real profit, though but little money, they may be inclined to look on me as an idler. Nevertheless, as I do not need the police of meaninglessness, labor to regulate me, I do not need to see anything absolutely praiseworthy in this fellow's undertaking any more than in many an enterprise of our own or foreign governments. However amusing it may be to him or them, I prefer to finish my education at a different school. As for the comparative demand which men make on life, it is an important difference between two, that one is satisfied with a level success, that his marks can all be hit by point-blank shots, but the other, however low and unsuccessful his life may be, constantly elevates his aim through, though at a very slight angle to the horizon. I should much rather be the last man, though as the Orientals say, greatness does not approach him who is forever looking down, and all those who are looking high are growing poor. America is said to be the arena on which the battle of freedom is to be fought. But surely it cannot be freedom in a merely political sense that what is meant. Even if we grant that the American has freed himself from a political tyrant, he is still the slave of an economical and moral tyrant. Now that the Republic has been settled, it is time to look at the private state, to see, as the Roman Senate charged its councils, that the private state received no detriment. Do we call this the land of the free? What is it to be free from King George and continue to be the slaves of King Prejudice? What is it to be born free and not to live free? What is the value of any political freedom but as a means to moral freedom? Is it a freedom to be slaves or a freedom to be free, of which we boast? We are a nation of politicians concerned about the most defenses only of freedom. It is our children's children who may perchance be really free. We tax ourselves unjustly. There is part of us which is not represented. It is taxation without representation. We quarter troops, we quarter fools and cattle of all sorts upon ourselves. We quarter our gross bodies to our poor souls until the former eat up all the latter's substance. With respect to a true culture and manhood, we are essentially provincial still, not metropolitan mere Jonathans. We are provincial because we do not find at home our standards, because we do not worship truth, but the reflection of truth, because we are warped and narrowed by an exclusive devotion to trade and commerce, and manufactures and agriculture and the like, which are but means and not the end. What is called politics is comparatively something so superficial and inhuman that practically I have never fairly recognized that it concerns me at all. In the newspapers, I perceive devote of their columns especially to politics or government without charge. And this, one would say, is all that saves it. But as I love literature and to some extent the truth also, I never read those columns. At any rate, I do not wish to blunt my senses of right so much. I have not got to answer for having read a single president's message. A strange age of the world this, when empires, kingdoms, and republics come a-begging to a private man's door and utter their complaints at his elbow. I cannot take up a newspaper, but I find that some wretched government or other, hard pushed on its last legs, is interceding with me, the reader, to vote for it. More importune than an Italian beggar, and I have found my mind to look at its certificate, made perchance by some benevolent merchant's clerk, or the skipper that brought it over, for it cannot speak a word of English itself. I shall probably read of the eruption of some Vesuvius, or the overflowing of some Po river, true or forged, which brought it to this condition. I do not hesitate in such a case to suggest work or the almshouse, or why not keep its castle in preserving his popularity. The president what with preserving his popularity and doing his duty, is completely bewildered. The newspapers are the ruling power. Any other government is reduced to a few Marines at Fort Independence. And if a man neglects to read the Daily Times, government will go down on its knees to him, for this is the only treason these days. I sometimes awake to a half-consciousness of them going on about me, as a man may become conscious of some of the processes of digestion in a morbid state, and so have dyspepsia, as it is called. It is as if a thinker submitted himself to be rasped by the great gizzard of creation. Politics is, as it were, the gizzard of society, full of grit and gravel, and the two political parties are its two opposite halves, sometimes split into quarters, it may be, which grind on each other. Not only individuals, but states have this confirmed dyspepsia, which expresses itself, you can imagine, by what sort of eloquence. Thus our life is not altogether a forgetting, but also, alas, to the great extent, a remembering of that which we should never have been conscious of, certainly not in our waking hours. Why should we not meet, and not always as dyspeptics to tell our bad dreams, but sometimes as eupeptics to congratulate each other on the ever-glorious morning? I do not make an exorbitant demand, surely.